Hi, can you send an email to avmartinromero@gmail.com for an important business meeting on the 17th?
Absolutely, sir. I'll make sure your calendar remembers the date better than your coffee maker remembers when to brew. Shall I proceed?
Have you ever wanted to build your own Jarvis? Have you dreamed of being an Iron Man?
Today, you are going to learn how to create an AI assistant that not only talks, but does real things. Schedule appointments, check your calendar, send mail, and more. Today, you're going to learn how to do exactly that. You already know that if you want this and other WordPress totally ready to use, you can enter our Minted Well community. The link is down here in the description. Today, you are going to learn how to create a special with which you can revolutionize your productivity.
The step to set up our workflow is every time we receive a message. To set it up, you first need to add your credentials, and for that, we are going to go to Telegram. We have to look for a bot called BotFather. Once we are in BotFather, we click Start. Then we select New Bot and add a name for our bot. Then we must define the username. Remember that it should end as follows. Finally, an API HTTP token will be generated for us. You're going to copy this token to go back to your workflow in N8N and add it. In the Telegram node, you simply paste it in the field of your credentials and voila, you already have a created bot connected to your flow. The next point is to configure the switch node. This node has the function of identifying whether the message we receive is text or voice. Depending on the type of message, the flow will take you down one path or another within the system. This ensures that each type of input is processed correctly. Let's first set up the path it follows when the message is text. To do that, the first thing we do is send a text message to our Telera bot. Then we added a node called Edit Fields. When we get that text message inside the node, we need to add the dynamic tag of the message. We do this as follows. That way we capture the message from the content of the text that the user sent. Now, if the message is a voice message, we're going to set up the path that you need to follow. For that, the next node is called getFile. It is a teleapp node. We arrived at our Telegram credentials, which, if you did it in the previous step, you just need to add the credentials that you just added. Then, in the resource field, we select File. In Operations, we select Get. And very importantly, in the File ID field, we place the dynamic tag corresponding to the voice note that we previously sent by Telera. This ensures that the correct audio is downloaded. The next step would be to transcribe what we have just received through the voice note. For that, we are going to use an OpenAI node. This node is going to convert the audio to text, so we can continue to work with it within the flow. But before you set it up, you need to have access to OpenAI's API. If you don't have it yet, to add them, you have to go to the official OpenAI website, create a new API, copy and paste it into your N8N credentials. Once the credentials are added, we are going to configure the OpenAI node in this way. In the Operations field, we select the option to transcribe an audio file. This tells the node that its task will be to convert the voice note we download into text. Once this is done, you are ready to transcribe what the user sent through a voice note. Now, we are going to check that everything is connected and working correctly. The flow starts when a Telegram message or voice note is received. The switch node identifies what type of message. If it's text, it goes through edit fields. If it's speech, it passes through the get file node. We're going to run the flow to make sure everything is working as it should. Ready. Once we have identified the dynamic tags and confirmed that this section of the flow is working correctly, the next step is to configure our artificial intelligence agent. This agent will be in charge of processing the message we have received and giving it an automatic response. To set it up, it's very simple. We just need to give you a robust prompt that tells you what to do. The prompt must be clear and complete. In this case, we tell the AI that it must respond in a fun way. Once this is ready, this agent needs to have access to essential tools such as its memory and a language model. This so that you can interact fluidly with the user and respond in a personalized way. First of all, for the language model, we use OpenAI. The setup is very similar to the previous steps. You just need to add your OpenAI credentials on the corresponding node. Once you have this ready, we move on to configuring the agent's memory. Memory is a crucial function that allows the agent to remember previous interactions with the user. This is what makes it possible for people, for example, to remember our user's name or details prior to the conversation. To configure it, we must use a dynamic tag that comes from the trigger, specifically the chat ID of our agent, and finally, the tools. These people don't have a limit on. In terms of tools, it can be integrated with external artificial intelligence systems, manage Google Calendar agendas, send emails, automate, search for news on Google, perform calculations, translate into a language, among many functions. Here you decide how to keep your own Jarvis connected. This is according to their needs, so you can expand their capacity and functionality according to your workflow. Once our AI agent is fully configured and working, we move on to the next step. This is a switch node. This node is key because it allows us to decide how to respond to the user depending on the type of message they sent. If it was a voicemail, it will take you one way, and if it was a text message, it will take you another. This is a very simple but very powerful way to adapt communication to the original channel to maintain the naturalness of the interaction. Since we're setting the moment through a voice memo, we're going to continue down that path. For that, we set up a node called Basic LLM Chain. Personality to the message so that it follows the original rules of prop. This is where I take a little bit of Jarvis personality. We analyze the prompt a little bit, and you have the prompt here if you want to use it in your developments. This node also needs a language model, and in this case we use OpenAI. Just adding our credentials like we did before. Once we have done this and the response is generated, the next step is to convert the generated text into audio. For that, we use an HTTP request node that connects to 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a company that allows voice cloning and offers an extremely high catalog of voices with which we can. To configure, it is simple. We need to use the URL of the endpoint that converts the text to speech. We specify the post method and add the ID of the voice we want to use. EvenLabs offers hundreds of voices, so we can further customize the experience. Then, we simply authenticate with our credentials by following the instructions in the documentation. We continue to configure. We activate the Send Body option, select JSON as the format, and paste the dynamic expression containing the response generated by our agent into the body hood. We execute the flow, and that's it. We already have the answer in audio format. For the generated audio, the last step is to send it to our user. For that, we use the Telegram node with the send audio operation. We select our credentials and set up the chat ID so that it has a track of which conversation to send the message to. We tick the necessary options like Activate Binary File and set this up this way. We run the flow, and there you have it. I just received a fully automated response sent in voice note directly by Telegram.
Ah, a multilingual greeting. Impressive, sir. I'm quite well, thank you. Now shall we proceed to something suitably challenging?
Next point would be to set up the route via text message. To do this, we check our switch node again to verify that the responses through text also work. To do this, we have to verify that the dynamic label of the text message come from the trigger. We run this node, and to finish, the next node would be a send message. We add our credentials to this node and set the operation as send message. We place the chat ID that also comes from the trigger. And in the text field, we add the dynamic tag that contains the agent's response. We execute, and that's it. We have also received a response via text message. We're going to review it together. We're going to ask you to send an email to certain people and review the result to confirm that it works. Very well. You can also send the email to Martin Romero, Gmail. Send him the notification of the medical appointment and tell him that we have a meeting to eat on Saturday.
Sir, your messages have been dispatched with the precision of a Stark Industries missile, only considerably less explosive. If there's anything else, do let me know. I'm ever at your service. Ah, a multilingual greeting. Impressive, sir. I'm quite wealthy.
Perfect. Now you have your virtual assistant configured, your Jarvis 24/7. And what is the use you can give to this system? First, have access to your main applications from your phone. You can send emails, check your calendar, manage tasks, and more. I hope you learned something very valuable today. You learned how to create your AI assistant connected with Telegram that has the ability to answer you with voice.
Thank you.
211 Labs. You already know that if you want to go directly to action, the complete workflow is available by accessing our community. The link is below in the description. You can get this and other workflows totally ready to use. See you in the following video.